Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. Raised fist medium dark skin tone. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. The rain fell on the streets of Atlanta, a relentless, sorrowful downpour that mirrored the storm raging inside Ruth Daniels' tiny one-bedroom apartment. At 21, she had spent her life caring for other people's children as a nanny, but tonight, she was giving birth to her own, alone and terrified. The hours were a blur of pain, and just when she thought she couldn't bear it anymore, the room filled with the cries of not one, but 3 newborns. Triplets, 3 tiny girls. Ruth's hands trembled as she pressed them to her chest, a flood of tears mixing with the baby's cries. "Lord, what am I supposed to do now?" she whispered into the darkness, rocking them as if to rock away her own fear. The weight of her reality crashed down on her like a tidal wave. She was a nanny with barely enough money for rent and food, no partner, no family to help. How could she feed, clothe, and care for 3 babies? She loved them with every fiber of her being, but love couldn't buy diapers. Love couldn't fill empty stomachs. She'd spent years watching the Wilson kids grow up in their beautiful home, brushing little Sarah's curls and helping Michael with his homework, all while yearning for someone to pour that same love into her. Now, 3 little faces were depending entirely on her, and the weight felt unbearable. Days bled into a desperate struggle. Her body, weak from childbirth, couldn't produce enough milk. The refrigerator was almost empty. Her cupboards were little more than a graveyard for stale rice and bread. She paced the floor, her tears a silent rhythm to the baby's hungry cries. "I'm so sorry, my babies," she'd whisper. "Mama loves you, but Mama doesn't know what to do." One afternoon at the market, a conversation between 2 women stopped her dead in her tracks. They say Henry and Margaret Collins have been trying for children for 14 years. One said, "Doctors told them it's impossible. They have that big house in Atlanta and no children to fill it." A heavy, dangerous thought slipped into Ruth's mind. The Collins, wealthy, respectable, and desperate for children, were her only hope. That night, Ruth stared at the ceiling as the rain tapped a mournful tune against her window. "Maybe," she whispered to the darkness, "maybe they could give you what I cannot." The thought was a dagger to her heart, but it rooted itself deep in her chest. For 2 more days, she wrestled with it, sobbing until her eyes were swollen shut. She considered running away, hiding, but the sound of her baby's hunger was louder than her prayers. Finally, she made a choice. She kissed each baby's forehead, whispering their names, asterisk, asterisk, Naomi, asterisk, asterisk, Grace, and Leah, asterisk, asterisk, as if branding them onto her very soul. With a sewing needle, she pricked her finger and made a small, almost imperceptible mark on the front of each baby's hand. "You are mine," she promised. "If I see you again, I will know you." The next evening, under a pouring rain, Ruth wrapped her daughters in thin blankets, placed them in a wicker basket, and walked through the muddy streets to the Collins' grand home. Her legs were like lead, her chest burning with every step. When the door opened, Margaret Collins stood there, her eyes wide with shock. "My God," she whispered, her hand flying to her chest. "Whose children are these?" "They're mine." Ruth's voice cracked. "I can't keep them. I heard you've been waiting for children. Please, I have nothing. These babies deserve better than me." Henry Collins appeared behind his wife. "Are you saying you would give them to us?" he asked slowly, his gaze cautious. Ruth nodded, her shoulders shaking. "Not because I don't love them. I love them too much to watch them starve. Just promise me you'll love them." Tears streamed down Margaret's face as she reached for the basket. "We will love them like they're our own. We've prayed for this for years." "This has to be official," Henry said, his voice firm. "Papers must be signed. This means forever." "I understand," Ruth whispered, her vision blurred by tears. "Just don't let them forget love. That's all I ask." Within days, the paperwork was complete. The Collins held Naomi, Grace, and Leah as if the world had finally given them breath. Ruth, standing outside the courthouse, felt her heart tear into pieces she knew would never heal. She had entered motherhood and walked out again within a week. The Collins soon relocated, taking the triplets with them to start a new life away from Atlanta. Ruth never saw them again. Years slipped by like shadows. Ruth carried her secret like a stone in her chest, unmovable. Every year on their birthday, she lit a candle and whispered their names into the silence. Naomi, Grace, Leah. The names tasted of love and pain. Her life moved on but never forward. She worked odd jobs in Birmingham, Alabama, cleaning, babysitting, cooking for families who never looked her in the eye. Her body grew weary. Her hair silvered too soon. Her back ached with every sunrise. But nothing compared to the ache in her heart. Meanwhile, Naomi, Grace, and Leah were raised in a world of love and opportunity. The Collins moved to London, and the girls flourished. They were brilliant, wealthy, and admired, living lives their birth mother could only dream of. Naomi became a sharp-minded lawyer in New York, Grace a compassionate doctor in London, and Leah a creative entrepreneur in Los Angeles. To them, their birth mother was a blank space in their story. 27 years later, Ruth stirred a pot of thin soup in her small, quiet kitchen. The television hummed in the background, a low comfort until a news announcer's words sliced through the silence. Tonight, we honor three remarkable sisters, Naomi Collins, Grace Collins, and Leah Collins, for their extraordinary success and generosity. The spoon clattered from Ruth's hand. Her breath hitched. Her eyes darted to the screen, her pulse hammering in her ears. There they were, three radiant women on a stage, tall, elegant, and breathtakingly beautiful. Her chest burned with a strange mixture of pride and pain. "Naomi, Grace, Leah," she whispered. Then the camera zoomed in. Ruth's hands began to shake violently. On the front of each woman's hand was a faint, almost invisible mark, the mark she had made with a sewing needle 27 years ago. Undeniable proof. Her body gave out, collapsing onto the cold kitchen floor. She sobbed so hard her chest ached, rocking back and forth as the words tore from her lips. My babies. Sleep abandoned her for weeks. She wrote to them by the dim glow of a candle, her handwriting shaky and blurred by tears. She told them everything. Why she did it. How she had loved them every single day since. How she had never forgiven herself. Each letter ended the same way. Asterisk, if you never want to see me, I will understand. But please know I never stopped loving you. Asterisk, she mailed the letters to their offices, praying they would find their way into her daughter's hands. Weeks passed in silence. Hope dwindled. Then, one morning, a knock echoed through her home. Ruth's heart lurched. She opened the door, and her knees nearly buckled. Standing before her were Naomi, Grace, and Leah, their eyes shimmering with tears. You're her, aren't you? Grace's voice trembled. The woman who gave us away. Yes, Ruth whispered, tears spilling freely. I am your mother. She held out her arms, desperate to pull them close. But Naomi stepped back, her voice cutting like glass. Mother, you abandoned us. You left us with strangers. Do you know what that did to us? Ruth fell to her knees, her sobs shaking her frail body. I had nothing. No food, no family. I loved you too much to watch you starve. I marked your hands because I prayed I'd see you again. Leah's face twisted with anguish. You weren't there when we needed a mom. You don't exist in our story. We can't forgive you. Ruth crawled closer, her hands pressed the floor. Please forgive me. You are my heart. You always were. Naomi's tears streamed down her cheeks, but her voice was firm. We already have a mother. Margaret raised us, cared for us, loved us when you couldn't. You may have given birth to us, but you abandoned us. That will never change. The sisters turned away, their sobs echoing as they walked out of the small house, leaving Ruth on the floor. Her cries filled the room, a raw and desperate plea that faded into a heavy silence. From that day on, Ruth lived with the crushing weight of their rejection. Yet, she could not stop reaching. She wrote constantly, sending letters and emails, her endless stream of words cast into a void. Each message carried her love, her regret, her sorrow. Sometimes love means sacrifice, but sacrifice can leave scars that never heal. Forgiveness is not promised, and sometimes the love we offer comes too late. Still, Ruth clung to a fragile belief that one day her daughters might open their hearts. Until then, she kept writing. She kept praying. She kept waiting.